This footage recounts the ordeal of two indigenous hunters, Frank and Donald, during a trip into the mountains of Alberta, Canada, an outing neither realized would end with only one survivor. At the start of their hunt, the two split up, choosing separate spots along the river valley to watch the game trails from elevated stands. As daylight faded, Frank began noticing strange noises echoing from the forest and started filming what he was hearing. The recording picked up loud impacts and heavy breaks, as if something was striking wood nearby. When Frank climbed down from his stand, the sounds intensified.
Sounds like something's hacking away at a tree. I'm getting down.
Following the noise, he noticed what looked like a downed tree farther ahead. Growing uneasy, he decided to leave on his ATV and meet up with Donald before nightfall. But when he reached Donald's stand, he realized something was very wrong.
Dawn!
Donald was gone, and the same disturbing noises had followed Frank to this new spot, now mixed with an even more alarming tone.
Shit, man. Just heard something again.
Although he briefly wondered if it was a joke, the continuous sounds drove him back toward his ATV, hoping to run into Donald along the way. Instead, things worsened when his ATV suddenly wouldn't start.
Hey! Is that you?
With no working vehicle, Frank had no option but to continue on foot through the dark forest as the mysterious noises kept closing in behind him.
Not here.
While moving quickly through the terrain, he stumbled upon a chilling scene. Suggesting that something else had been out there with them. Not long after, Frank found additional traces hinting at a deliberate presence.
What the hell is this?
a makeshift shelter constructed from snapped branches and woven twigs. He didn't stay to inspect it as the earlier noises began approaching again. For several minutes, he ran blindly through the darkness, unable to increase the distance between himself and whatever was pursuing him. With no clear way to escape, Frank prepared to confront it, an action that nearly cost him his life.
Thing is stalking me, whatever it is.
He attempted to defend himself, missed, and was quickly overpowered. Pinned by the unidentified attacker, he could only pretend to be lifeless. The camera then showed Frank's body being dragged across the snowy ridge for what felt like an eternity. Hours later, he regained awareness inside what appeared to be the creature's den. The structure resembled the wooden formations he had seen earlier near the valley, surrounded by smaller versions of the same design. Disturbingly, these were decorated with bones and decaying remains. Nearby, he came across a small display containing what looked like the body of a young creature. Understanding the danger, he fled the area and eventually made it back toward the river valley where they had begun their hunt. There, he found what was left of Donald. The two had entered the mountains together, but only one came down alive. Donald was never seen again. What exactly confronted Frank and Donald that night? A violent individual hiding deep in the wilderness? A known predator roaming the Alberta mountains? And how Frank managed to escape at all remains uncertain. This story doesn't appear to be finished. Hold on a sec. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's continue. Muskrat, from Muskrat Outdoors, and his wife Cindy were checking their bearbait station when they noticed an old path they'd never seen before. What they found along it raised unsettling questions about whoever left it behind. After following the trail, they discovered a metal container hanging from a tree. At first, it appeared to be a barrel used for trapping, but it turned out to be an old milk can, its lid still sealed.
Come across something here extremely strange. I'm not really sure what to make of this. We found an old trail here. We walked down the trail, and here hanging in this tree here, right underneath that pole, was what I thought was a barrel that was probably used as a martin box. What it turned out to be is an old milk can. And stranger yet, the lid was on it. I pulled the lid off of it, and look at this. What in the world? Why would anybody... That's a pine marten. It's all been skinned and stretched. This is a coyote. Looks like several coyotes.
Inside was a disturbing sight, a stretched pine marten pelt. More fur followed. By the time they emptied the container, they had pulled out the remains of multiple animals: martens, coyotes, a fox, and 2 badgers. All of them had been fully prepared for sale, dried and fleshed, then stuffed into the can and suspended in the woods. The couple estimated the location to be roughly 25 miles from the nearest home or town. Even in a poor season, the value of the furs was significant, making it baffling why anyone would abandon them.
Okay, this is this is really strange. I don't understand any of this. This old milk can here that was hanging in this tree. It was right here. In fact, there's part of the wire it was hanging on. Just kind of up underneath this tree here. That milk can had a coyote in it, 2 marten that were loose, a fox with a marten that was stuffed inside of the fox. So 3 marten, a fox, a coyote, and 2 badgers. They've been here a long time. They've turned green and moldy, but they're all stretched, fleshed, dried, ready for sale, stuffed into a milk can tied to a tree in the middle of nowhere. This spot here is probably, I'm guessing, 25 miles from the closest town or house. There's, let's see, 20, 40, 60, 80, there's at least $100 worth of furs there, even on a bad year. And why would you go through that much effort and then just leave it there, tied to a tree?
Questions quickly mounted. Why would a trapper leave an entire season's worth of work tied to a tree? Why hide the pelts in a milk can instead of taking them to market? And perhaps most disturbing, what stopped them from returning?
Kinda don't feel right just leaving these critters laying in the woods, but they're not good for nothing, and I don't know. What a waste. The marten were skinned with the feet on. That's kind of time consuming, getting those little toe bones out of there. We don't have that many badger in this area. Almost like he got them someplace else.
The marten were skinned in a labor-intensive way, and the area typically had few badgers, suggesting the pelts might have been brought in from elsewhere. After so many years, they were now worthless, leaving the couple unsure what to do next. Before leaving the site, Muskrat noticed something else that unsettled him even more.
Actually, really kind of strange, but I don't know if I believe in the whole Bigfoot tree structure things, but this one is a little weird. Actually, somebody was cutting some of this up for firewood, but it's a very strange stack, the way they've got it all tangled in this tree.
Nearby logs had been woven into the surrounding branches in a pattern he couldn't explain. Some pieces looked as if they'd been cut for firewood, yet the overall arrangement seemed unnatural. When the video was posted, viewers began sharing similar accounts, stories of trappers and hunters who vanished in remote regions, some eventually discovered by chance, others never found. One detail troubled many who watched. If the trapper had suffered an accident or become lost, why was the milk can hung so deliberately, secured with care? The milk can is now in Muskrat's possession, but none of the questions raised that day have been answered. In this footage, a hunter records an encounter with what he refers to as a zombie deer.
Something is wrong with this doe. She let me get very close. Then I noticed she's losing hair. There's also a sore at the base of her tail. And she's drooling.
Something is clearly wrong with the doe. She allows an unusually close approach, is missing patches of hair, has a wound near her tail, and appears to be drooling. In a wilderness filled with predators, prey animals typically flee instantly at any sign of danger. Yet this one remains motionless, staring blankly as he nears. What's shown here isn't fiction, it's real, and more unsettling than any horror story. The deer displays symptoms consistent with chronic wasting disease, or CWD, a fatal neurological disorder spreading rapidly through deer populations across North America. Other hunters online have reported similar encounters. The condition creates several recognizable signs. Affected animals often lose their instinctive fear, remaining still when they should escape.
Back up.
Some infected deer lose coordination, moving erratically, circling, or stumbling. As the disease advances, they suffer extreme weight loss, deteriorating even when food is available.
Hi.
The speed at which CWD spreads is what makes it especially alarming, transmitting through direct contact and contaminated surroundings. Because of this, wildlife officials have increased monitoring and encouraged hunters to submit samples for testing to prevent larger outbreaks. The term zombie deer may sound like something invented for entertainment, but the reality behind it is far more disturbing. That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.